So hey everybody, back with Fallout 76, and as you know from the title, we are going to be talking about the Berserker's Rifleman build, and how I've been trying to perfect it, and I think I've finally done it, or I'm 7% the way there, to finding the perfect Berserker's Rifleman build. And yeah, so if you're wondering, is this as good as... Well, this is a Berserker's Rifleman slash Commando. You can switch in between full auto or semi slash manually operated guns. So, is this as good as a bloodied build? No, this is nowhere near as good as a bloodied build. Simply because bloodied offers more damage. It offers perks that go with bloodied build. It has mutations that go with a bloody build. You have armor that goes with a bloodied build. This is not as strong as a bloodied build. However, I still think this is a viable build because you're still getting good damage out of it. And if you spec right, now you can do a Berserker's build kind of one of two ways. You can go for a slightly tanky Berserker's build, which is what I've done here, or you can go for a stealth Berserker's build because you can easily use the Chameleon mutation because you're not wearing armor uh, to kind of substitute some of the stealth perks, allowing you to do a bit more spec and do a bit more crits. So yeah, this is what I've come up with for the kind of tanky Berserker's Rifleman. Now, like I said, it still could use a bit of changing. So in strength, we have 6 strength. We use Bandolier. I could possibly change that out for something else. It's only a 1-star Bandolier, but the main thing you're going to want is Blocker, and that's take 45% less damage from melee attacks. And you're going to see a running theme here in some of the categories. So obviously in perception, since this is a rifleman slash commando build, I have 12 perception, and I went with rifleman, rifleman, rifleman. You can switch that out for commando, commando, commando. Um, 2 things of tank killer, just to get a bit more damage through the heavier armored opponents, and 1 thing of concentrated fire, which could be substituted out for 1 thing of ground pounder if you want to, go with the full auto guns. So in endurance, this is a very important perk, or not perk, special, because this is where a lot of, since you don't have armor, you're going to have to rely on health to be your armor, and so this is what I've came up with. Life Giver, well, normally a kind of worthless perk, since you don't have very much armor, you have to rely on health, just like I said. So I've got 45 more health is 45 more health. Ghoulish. Now the reason you'll want Ghoulish is because radiation will heal you, which means that you can. That's an extra healing thing. So you're kind of using that as another buffer to basically take less damage. Adamantium Skeleton, because I find that your limbs break extremely fast without armor on. So yeah, I only have rank 2, but that's all I could fit. Sunkissed. Now the reason you use Sunkissed, you could possibly switch this out at night, since it doesn't work at night. But the reason you use Sunkissed is because now you don't have to use Radaway in combat. Now you don't have to use Radaway outside of combat. Sunkissed basically makes it so Radaway is, an only combat item. And then we have Rejuvenated, which gives you more health. So yeah. If anyone has any suggestions, I thought about changing something out. Yeah. Now you don't want... Where is it? Ironclad, right? Because I originally was going to use Ironclad, thinking that it would work, but Berserkers doesn't work off armor, it works off damage resistance. So Ironclad is actually a worthless perk for a Berserker build. Oh, Primal cuts us up. Whoop. Didn't mean to exit out of that. So for Charisma, we have Travel Agent, because I don't feel like paying as much for fast traveling, Tenderizer, and Lone Wanderer. Now, you could switch out Tenderizer for something else, but I found that this is pretty good, because Lone Wanderer is going to let you take 15% less damage, and Tenderizer lets you deal a little bit more damage. Alternatively, you could use Do I have it? Suppressors. You could spec into suppressors because that's less damage that an enemy's going to do to you. So you're... God dang it, I didn't mean to exit out of that again. But yeah, that could be a beneficial perk for this. Now, what I was going to do, since Lone Wanderer takes off 3, right? When I'm in a group, I'm going to use Rad Sponge and suppressors. See, that's how it's going to work. Because Rad Sponge level 2 will heal... If you share this, right? If you share this in a full group, it basically makes it so your radiation will disappear. So you're still getting radiation, which will work with Ghoulish. So it's going to constantly heal you. However, if you're in a 4-person group, and you are getting slightly irradiated, it basically makes Radaway useless. And then that will let me put on one thing of suppressors, which will, 10% less damage, which isn't great, but it's still less damage. Intelligence, I didn't feel that there was anything really in intelligence I needed, so put whatever you want. I got batteries included because I'm carrying a lot of energy weapon ammo. Agility. Um, like I said, if you're going for a stealth berserkers build, agility, you're gonna want to swap like as many points from endurance into agility instead. So in agility, I have dodgy, which is avoid damage for action points. It's a pretty good perk. Like it's kind of interesting. So if you take that, avoid 20% of incoming damage, and I'm not sure how that combines, but if you take that's 30% or that's 45% damage, right? And then you include Lone Wanderer, right? And that's another 15. So 15 plus 20, that's 35% less damage. Combined with blocker, 35 plus 45 is 80. Right? Yeah, 80% less damage from an attack. That's the way percentages work. If percentages work, like, I'm not sure how all of these calculate together. So yeah, and then luck. I have luck because there's a lot of good perks in luck for this as well. So I do now. I have class freak on and starch genes because one of the mutations I'm using. I have one mutation on this class. You could use two. Two I kind of recommend. So yeah, so class freak and starch genes are for healing factor. I'm using healing factor because if you can get the enemies down, that's less healing items you have to use. So yeah, better criticals. That's just more damage. Class freak, you know about that. Ricochet. I'm kind of thinking about taking this one off because I don't think it makes you take less damage. I think it just reflects the damage that you take, like some of it. So and it doesn't work in PvP. If you'll notice, some of these don't work in PvP. Like Ricochet does not work in PvP. So I'm thinking about taking that off and maybe putting something else for criticals in, like Grim Reaper Sprint or whatever it is. Like Bloody Mess because that's just more damage, and Luck of the Draw because I like my weapons to repair themselves. So yeah, that's the perk overview. Like I said, if you're going to, you can do a stealth berserkers build fairly easily. Just switch the endurance perks here into agility, and you don't even have to spec into agility that much because you can use a chameleon mutation to kind of offset that. So, and the reason I'm saying this is a semi-complete build is because I only have 3 berserkers weapons, and one of them is not a rifle. So, these are my 3 berserkers weapons. I'll show you the 3-star first. I need better berserkers weapons. This one isn't terrible. It's very good in VATS. It does a little bit more damage, and now I'll equip these weapons to let you see how much more damage they do. Because I have this Berserker's explosive shotgun. So if I was going to do a Berserker's shotgunner build, this is pretty good. And then I have this Berserker's gauze rifle. Now, if you're wondering how much damage the Berserker's effect adds, 80 damage resistance is the threshold. So anything above 80 damage threshold will reduce your damage. Anything below 80 will increase your damage. So at 0 armor, technically I have negative armor right now, but let's not get into that. Let's not get into that yet. So at 0 armor, you'll get a 50% increase. So here, 81 damage goes up to 121. So that's an increase of 40, which is half of 81. 160 will go up to 240. Obviously, one half of 160 is 80. And 258 damage will go up to 386. So that's an increase of 128 damage. So Berserkers is pretty effective. Like I said, I think Bloodied and Junkie, it gives on par with Junkies, but less than Bloodied. So yeah, but you can also increase that a bit more, with Ballistic Block, High Voltage, and High Voltage Hefe. Yeah, and then, like I said, I have 405 health right now, because that's pretty good. Not sure, like, obviously with some food, I'm pretty sure you could get more than that, but I think that's pretty good. And then, like I said, the reason I have negative armor is because, well, I technically have negative energy resistance and negative radiation resistance, is because I got the high capacity uh, backpack. I spent up to 4 a.m. last night getting this thing just because I wanted to get rid of a strong back, right? Because I used to have strong back on this class, and I managed to be able to switch that out for a level 4 of blocker. So yeah, that's kind of an overview. Gonna go put this back. Like like I said, it's not as good as a bloodied build. You can still do good damage with it. I think that Berserker's build should become maybe more popular. I don't know. Like, the reason I started the Berserker's build is because I didn't feel like repairing armor. And I found that, there were Berserker's weapons that allowed me to do that. And I'm just wearing the, like, you can wear any outfit you want. I'm wearing the, obviously the Marine thing, and I thought it looked cool. Because if you have the Chameleon mutation, you can look like you have the Chinese stealth suit. But I don't have that mutation. I might get that. Maybe try it out to see if I need stealth perks. I don't know. You can see, like, going from 258 damage to 386 is not small. That's 50% damage increase. I believe it goes off of high voltage Hefe. Yeah, 444 damage, and this one goes up to 240, which is not terrible. Oh, no. Yeah, this one goes up to 140, so you're getting the most benefit on the Gauss rifle. 444 damage. And you could raise that a bit more with, was it? All those, all the other foods. Why are people at tea time? Alright, well, I'm gonna end it here. I'm not, like... maybe I won't. Maybe I'll show you damage on something. Oh, there's usually super mutants in here. I want to go to West Tech because he's... Like, this build does have weaknesses. And those weaknesses are super mutants with miniguns. And, what else? Mirelurk Queens. Mirelurk Queens, since you have no damage resistance, their acid attacks do a lot. And I don't want to do that. There needs to be more perks that help the Berserkers build. Okay, here's super mutants, that's good. Are we still getting 444 damage? Still getting 444 damage. So we're not going to get that directly shooting a super mutant, but I want to see how much we can get. That's at 306 and 600 on the head. Okay, that's not too bad. $703 on the head. That's pretty good. And this isn't even a very good Berserker's Gauss rifle. Like, oh, yep. Dang it. Wow, I'm sucking hitting this guy. You know what? Fine. Gun that can't miss. Oh, he had a Merv on him. It's kind of weird. And I ruined that spawn. Yeah. Alright, yeah, it can go through enemies. Like, see, I fully think this is a viable build. Like, I mean, one-shot headshotting high-level super mutants is fine. You know, you can see even with this laser weapon, which is not a very good weapon in my opinion, you can, you know, do a lot of damage very quickly in it with it. But yeah, I'm gonna end it here. Don't really know what else to show you. It does damage.